make the biggest difference in a leader's effectiveness. My name is Nicole Bendeley, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I look forward to sharing some proven strategies and tools with you for really tapping into the best of yourself and those you lead. So I want to spend just a couple of minutes giving you a little bit of background into who I am and who my company is, so you get a sense of where these strategies come from and who we've tested them on, so that you can leave this webinar with the confidence in using these tools and knowing that they will help you to become an even better leader and really help you to tap into the best of those you lead and work with. So a little bit about us. I'm the president of Connect, and we've been around for 25 years now, and our sole purpose is helping organizations, teams, and leaders to strengthen performance at the individual level, at the frontline level, leadership level, and team level as well. And we do that through customized assessments, team and leadership tools, and team and leadership development processes where we'll work one-on-one with leaders and their teams. And we support organizations across North America and worldwide through our books as well. We've had almost a dozen books published, all focused on strengthening team and leadership performance. And the tools and models included in these books have been used by organizations worldwide to improve performance. And we are also the creators of the Team Fitness tool, which some of you actually may be using right now. I see a few of our clients on the call. And this is a software product that enables organizations to create stronger and happier teams with the tools included in the software quite quickly and easily. And you can learn more about us and the Team Fitness tool at teamfitnesstool.com. So welcome. The next 45 minutes or so, we are going to be focusing on helping you to become an even better leader than you already are. And like I said, we've been doing this for 25 years now, and we have been studying leadership performance of all levels, leaders who struggle to keep up and leaders who excel quite easily. And over these 25 years, we have been consistently asked this one question from leaders, which is, how can I achieve greater results with less struggle? And this really prompted us to ask and answer our own question, which is, what's the difference between leaders who achieve exceptional results with ease and those who struggle to keep up? So we've been asking and answering this question for 25 years now. And we keep gathering, more data and more information and have really honed a core set of strategies and behaviors and practices that we have found differentiate high-performance leaders from the rest. And so today's session is about sharing these three of these strategies with you. And what we found when we studied these leaders and worked with all different types of leaders was that those leaders who excel with ease aren't smarter than the rest. They don't work harder or longer hours than everybody else, and they don't have some, mysterious power from above. But they do commit to and demonstrate a set of behaviors and practices that others don't. And we found through our research and work with leaders over the years that those who demonstrate these core strategies and choose to commit to certain behaviors can far exceed the performance of others. And they enjoy their work more, and they create healthy, productive, happier work environments and teams. And so these strategies are not only to benefit yourself, but they benefit your teams as well and your overall working culture. So let's get started with a review of the 3 success requirements. Like I said, leaders that excel demonstrate, key strategies and behaviors and practices that we call success requirements. and we will be reviewing 3 of them with you today on this session. So I encourage you to, block off any other distractions and take as many notes as you can, and also feel free to reach out to me after this session. My email is there for a reason. Should you have any questions on the content and strategies I'm sharing with you, please reach out to me afterwards. I'm happy to continue the conversation because we have a short period of time and I want to make sure that you're getting really some real value here today. Okay, so our first success requirement is being fanatically focused on success. So I'd like you all to do me a favor. I know I can't see you, but I just want to ask you all to raise your hands for me. Okay, I'm going to trust that you've all raised your hands. Now raise them higher. Now raise them even higher. Now raise them as high as you possibly can. Now why didn't you do that to begin with? Why didn't you raise your hands as high as you possibly can the first time I asked you? You didn't reach as high as you possibly can because I specifically asked you to reach as high as you possibly can. I didn't clarify that the goal was to reach as high as you possibly can. And I didn't motivate you, encourage you, inspire you to reach as high as you possibly can. High-performing leaders are fanatically focused on reaching as high as they possibly can at all times. And they are fanatically focused on encouraging their teams to reach as high as they possibly can at all times. Now, to dig deeper into the success requirement, I want to share an example of an organization that is fanatically focused on success across the board, from the front lines to the C-suite. And this is Southwest Airlines. And I'm sure some of you on the line this afternoon are familiar with the success of this organization. And Southwest has been, studied by many, organizational development consultants and researchers in really understanding how has this airline been able to create such a phenomenally performance-focused culture, a highly engaged culture at Southwest, and how has this airline been able to continue to be profitable in an industry that's experiencing high costs and recessions and so many issues that are impacting many airlines' ability to be profitable. And not only has Southwest remained profitable, but they're one of the only airlines that doesn't charge a baggage fee. I flew an airline a few weeks ago and was charged for my first bag. Southwest only charges for your third bag. And so they've maintained low fees for their customers. So the success of Southwest and the phenomenal culture that they create and continue to create within their organization, much of that success has been credited to the founder of Southwest Airline and the past CEO, Herb Keller. So I want to share a story about Herb Keller that really highlights the importance of being fanatically focused on success. And the story goes, Herb is talking to his protege, Mark. And he turns to Mark and he says, I can teach you the secret to running this business. This is it. Southwest Airlines is the low-fare airline. We are not a low-fare airline. We are the low-fare airline. And Southwest provides the most outstanding service. We don't just provide outstanding service, we provide the most outstanding service. And once you understand those two facts, you can make decisions about this organization as well as I can. And he goes on to give an example. He says, let's suppose Sarah from marketing comes into your office and suggests that we add a nice light chicken Caesar salad to the Houston to Vegas flight. What do you say to Sarah? He asks Mark, and Herb answers himself, and he says, you first recognize Sarah for bringing the idea to you, because maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not. But the most important part right now is acknowledging that she was proactive enough and cared enough to come to you with an idea. So you recognize Sarah. The second thing you do is you engage Sarah in a dialogue by asking a question. And you ask Sarah, how will adding a nice light chicken Caesar salad to the Houston to Vegas flight make us the most outstanding airline, or sorry, the airline that provides the most outstanding service at the lowest fares? Because again, maybe it's a great idea, maybe it's not. But unless we engage in a dialogue with our staff who bring us ideas, we're not going to know. And we are also encouraging and motivating and demonstrating the value of bringing ideas to the forefront. Plus, we're communicating and recognizing what we as an organization stand for. Our goal, our success statement, is to provide the most outstanding service at the lowest fares. And that is the number one way that Herb Keller says has made the biggest difference in Southwest success, is being fanatically focused on what they stand for. And so he makes it a point of walking around the organization and engaging in conversations with the ground crew, with his senior leadership team, with the flight crew, with the engineers, with the marketing team, with the logistics crews. He has conversations and asks, how do you think we can become the most outstanding service organization at the lowest fares? What do we need to do differently? Do you have any ideas? And he becomes a broken record and weaves their success statement into daily conversations, so that people not only know what the goal is, they are empowered to actually make it their own and find ways to achieve it more effectively, more easily, and to not only achieve it, but sustain it, which is what Southwest has been able to do. So not only are people focused on achieving the goal for Southwest, but they are actively committed to engage and engaged in it. So I have now a question for all of you. What is your organization's success statement? What does your company stand for? What is the one main goal, overarching goal, that defines your organization, that your teams from the front line up to the C-suite are pulling together to achieve? If you don't know what your success statement is, as a leader, you can be sure that your team members aren't aware of it. So in order to be fanatically focused on success, you need to know without a doubt at all times what your organization is working towards. And then the second question I have for you is, what is your team's success statement? So if we use Southwest as an example to be the airline that provides the most outstanding service at the lowest fares, that's the company's success statement. Each team within Southwest would have their own success statement and ensures that it's aligned, and they ensure that it's aligned to the overarching goal. If your team members don't know what it is that they as a team are working towards, you as a leader can be sure that your team members are going to be pulling in different directions. And when your team members are pulling in different directions, that creates more work for you, because likely you will be spinning your wheels, your team will be spinning their wheels, and you and your team will be focused on priorities and tasks that are not leading the team directly towards the organization's goals or ultimately the team's goals as well. So in order to increase your effectiveness as a leader and your team's effectiveness, it's essential to know without a doubt what your organization is working towards and how does your team fit into that picture. What is your team's success statement? My next question is, when was the last time you talked about your team's vision and values with those you lead? Because it's one thing to, develop a success statement, post it on a wall maybe, but it's another thing to actually engage people in a dialogue and daily conversations around how we're going to actually achieve this. What's working, what's not? What ideas do you have? So being fanatically focused on success doesn't just involve knowing where you're going. It's bringing people on board and inspiring and motivating and encouraging them to reach as high as they possibly can at all times towards that goal. But in order for people to reach as high as they possibly can, they need to know what they're reaching for. So starting with this organization success statement, then develop your team success statement, and ideally develop it with your team. Get their input. And then have conversations about it. Don't just develop it and then forget about it. Make it a priority in your leadership approach to talk about your team's vision and values. And by the way, the answer you're looking for to this question, when was the last time you talked about your team's vision and values? The answer you're looking for is today. Okay, this should be a daily ritual to an extent, having conversations about the vision. So some tips for locking onto success, for being fanatically focused on success. Again, the leaders that we work with that we have studied, those that perform at a high level and lead teams that consistently perform, are first and foremost focused on success. They know where they're going at all times and ensure that their team members know what the goals are at all times. So some tips. Bring your team together to develop a success statement. Okay? Share the organization's success statement and then have a conversation around what your team's goals are. How does your team fit into the bigger picture? Okay? What's the value we as a team bring to this organization? Okay? And recommit to that, to that purpose that you're there to live up to within the organization. And then identify your team's top 3 priorities for achieving success. Now this is actually 2 parts. You as a leader can identify your own priorities as far as your leadership role for achieving that success statement, because you as a leader may have your own priorities. You know, a priority for you may be developing your team. Right? With, you know, if we're not functioning effectively, we're not going to be able to achieve success. But the team may have their own priorities, whether it's, you know, customer service needs to be top-notch, what we need to reduce our costs. What are the top 3 priorities for achieving success? And a tip here, something that's interesting to do with your team is before you develop them, ask your team, what do you think our top 3 priorities for our team are right now? And have your team members list the priorities on a piece of paper individually, and then ask people to share. And you will be able to determine whether your team members are pulling in different directions or whether they're pulling together towards a common goal. Because if everybody has different priorities, time is being wasted, your time is being wasted, money is probably being wasted. Okay, so it's essential to develop your success statement and then your priorities for achieving success. Include your team and organization's goals in everyday conversations like we've been talking about, and ask more questions. If you walk away with only one thing from this webinar, I urge you to ask more questions and have more dialogue. Okay, so whether it's somebody coming to you with an issue that's happening in your team, and many leaders, you know, we're very busy and we have a knee-jerk reaction and say, okay, leave it with me, I'll deal with it. Instead of saying, leave it with me, engage in a conversation, right? What do you think we need to do to address this issue? What's worked in the past? What are your thoughts, right? Or if somebody's struggling to achieve a goal, what can we do differently to achieve this? Have a conversation and tap into the ideas that your team members have. Okay? So that was the first success requirement, locking on to success, being fanatically focused on success. So I'd like you to take a minute now and list one thing that you're going to do differently or do more of or start doing in order to be more fanatically focused on success. Take a minute and jot one thing you're going to do for yourself as a leader or for your team. Now, the second success requirement is feed the right wolf. And to introduce this, I am going to read to you a Cherokee parable about an old man teaching his grandson about life. And this is one of my favorite stories, so I'm going to share it with you right now. "There are two wolves fighting ferociously inside me," he said to the boy. "One wolf is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." "And who is the other wolf, grandfather?" asked the boy. "Oh, the other wolf is very different. He is good. He is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, and all other good things," answered the grandfather. Well, now the boy looked curious and asked, "Do I have wolves living inside me?" "Oh, yes, you and every living person," said the grandfather. Well, now the boy looked worried. "Which wolf will win, grandfather?" he asked. And the old man replied, "The one you feed." Every organization, every team, every leader has wolves living within them. Not wolves of good and evil, but wolves of success and failure. And there's often a third wolf lurking within the halls of your organization, and that's the wolf of mediocrity. And we feed these wolves with the behaviors and practices we demonstrate. We feed these wolves with the decisions we make. We feed these wolves with how we treat one another every day, right? These wolves get fat, not on one big win or one big failure. These wolves get fat on the little crumbs we drop every day. They get fat on the little things we do every day, on the smiles, on the thank yous, on the jobs well done, on the focusing on the goals. All the little things we do every day create the culture in which we work, right? The eye rolls, the shrugging off of somebody else's comments, or shutting discussion down, or making somebody feel less than, or being impatient, or focusing on the behaviors and practices that don't lead us directly to our goals. Those all feed the wolf of mediocrity. And exceptional teams, exceptional leaders are fanatically focused on feeding the wolf of success. And in order to feed the wolf of success, they first need to understand what success looks like. We first need to know where we're going, what we're reaching for. And then we can define the behaviors and practices that need to show up every day to feed that wolf of success and starve the wolf of failure and mediocrity. Now, the most dangerous wolf isn't the wolf of failure, because when we fail, we know we failed. And mistakes are part of achieving success as long as we learn from them. So learning from mistakes is a behavior that actually feeds the wolf of success. The most dangerous wolf is the wolf of mediocrity, because that wolf gets fat over time. And we don't even notice it, right? It's like boiling a frog in water, right? If you drop a frog in boiling water, you know they can feel it instantly. But if you turn the heat up slowly, they don't feel it, right? That's like working in an environment in a culture of mediocrity. We don't even recognize it anymore, that we're in it. And so that's the most dangerous wolf. And so exceptional leaders are very intentional in feeding success. And they take time to identify what are the behaviors and practices that I need to demonstrate, that my team needs to demonstrate consistently in order to achieve success as we've defined it. So your first criteria is knowing what success is. Your second criteria is knowing the behaviors and practices that must show up daily in order to feed that success, in order to achieve that success. And you also need to recognize those behaviors that are feeding the wolf of mediocrity so that you can take action to change those behaviors and reduce them and ultimately, ideally, eliminate them within your own leadership approach and also within your team. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, I want to share with you how we've defined a high-performance team so that you can be more aware of the behaviors and practices that need to show up within your team on a regular basis in order to feed that wolf of success and in order to more easily achieve your goals as a team. And when your teams focus on these core set of elements, your job will be easier. You will have a more cohesive, productive team, okay, pulling together in the same direction. So these 7 elements you can find on our website. And just to give you some background, each element is defined by 5 behaviors and practices. And these 7 elements have been developed over the past 25 years and tested and retested by actually an industrial psychologist from the University of Western, and they've been found to be highly reliable. And so you can go to our website and get details on each of these 7 elements so that you can learn or identify the behaviors and practices that need to show up within your team and be more focused on ensuring that they do show up. Because our research has shown that teams that demonstrate these behaviors and practices consistently far exceed other teams. They have more engaged employees, they have happier teams, happier work environments, and much more productive results and higher level results as well. Okay, so the first step is understanding what are the behaviors and practices that feed the wolf of success. And the team fitness test is a tool to allow you to do that. Now, some additional tips for feeding the right wolf is to clarify expectations with your teams. Okay, so I encourage you to share the wolf story with your team. Okay, so schedule a team meeting that's coming up soon. Share some time or block off some time in that meeting to share the wolf story. And then ask your team members to identify the behaviors and practices that are currently showing up in the team that your team feels are feeding the wolf of success. And then ask them to identify the behaviors and practices that they feel are actually feeding the wolf of mediocrity. And ask them what behaviors, what can they do to stop or eliminate the mediocre behaviors. And then ask the question, how can we hold each other accountable? And clarifying expectations is a practice of every high-performing leader, every high-performing team that we've come across. And I want to share another story with you around the importance of clarifying expectations. And it's actually a story about my family. And it's more specifically a story about my parents and my little brother. And it's a story that I have been hearing over and over again for 25 years. Every year at the same time, at Christmas dinner, I hear the same story. I know when this story is going to happen. As soon as, the potatoes get passed around, the story is going to be shared. And it's a story of my little brother. And when he was about 5 years old, we were sitting around the dining room table, and he piped up and he said, "I've written my letter to Santa and I've mailed it." And my parents were a little taken aback because, he's only 5 and he was just learning to read and write, and he wrote it, himself and mailed it. And it was July. So he was a little ahead of the game. So like any, good parent, they asked, "Well, what did you ask Santa for Christmas?" And my little brother was stubborn at the age of 5, and he's still stubborn. And he said, "I'm not telling you. Only Santa needs to know what I want for Christmas. And I'm going to get everything on my list." And so when my parents told me this story, about 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, a light bulb went off and thought, you know what, I could use this story. And it's a learning opportunity. And so my brother said, "You're not going to find out what I want for Christmas. Only Santa needs to know." So over the course of the next 6 months, my parents tried to get it out of him. They took him to different stores and said, "Do you want this for Christmas?" "Nope, only Santa needs to know. I'm not telling you." So sure enough, come Christmas morning, my brother runs downstairs and opens his first gift from Santa, and it's Michelangelo, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle he wanted so badly. But that lasted about, 0.5 seconds before he's out the front door, in his bare feet in the snow and looking around and throws a fit, pitches a complete fit, because Luke Skywalker's Falcon, whatever, I can't even remember the name of Luke Skywalker's spaceship. You Star Wars fans on this call are going to kill me, but anyways, he was looking for Luke Skywalker's spaceship, and it wasn't there, so he pitched a fit. And so I realized 10 years ago when they shared the story with me again, I realized that we all walk around with our own letters to Santa, that we just assume our expectations are going to be met. We all have our own sets of expectations and we just assume others know what they are and they're going to be met. And when our expectations aren't met, some of us pitch fits, right? Some of us pitch fits outwardly and we rock the boat and we maybe engage in unproductive behaviors and will react negatively. And others pitch fits internally where they will disengage and just not participate and not give 110%. And oftentimes these fits, whether outwardly or inwardly, are as a result of our expectations not being met. And so by bringing your team together to clarify the behaviors and practices that we together as a team need to demonstrate in order to have a more positive experience together, in order to have a more productive day, in order to achieve success as we've defined it, will help to eliminate or prevent these little fits from occurring. And as a result, you'll be able to achieve better results more easily. Okay? So clarify expectations. The second tip for feeding the right wolf, and by the way, when you feed the right wolf, you're also strengthening your team's performance. This is all about developing your team. Because high-performing leaders that we study show that they are not only fanatically focused on success, they're fanatically focused on ensuring that their team is functioning and working well together. So one of the tips to feed the right wolf is to huddle up with your team once a week. Okay, dedicate 10 minutes. Okay, it just takes 10 minutes a week. Huddle up with your team and ask the question, which wolf did we feed last week? And have them share examples as to how they fed the wolf of success, or maybe they fed the wolf of mediocrity. What were the behaviors that fed that wolf? And then ask the question, okay, what do we need to do this week to feed the wolf of success? These huddles focus your teams on the behaviors and practices that create an exceptional team, an exceptional environment. And when your team is functioning well, you're able to work more effectively as well, because you're not spending time putting out fires, dealing with team issues, or it also impacts our ability to make change stick, to develop buy-in, to be productive. So focusing on your team's development is a key aspect of a high-performance leader. Also, by providing regular feedback, so when you see a behavior that feeds the wolf of mediocrity, provide that feedback in the moment as far as how that behavior or that practice is impacting the team's ability to achieve the goal or to create a healthy climate or whatever it is that behavior is impacting. Provide feedback. Would take a minute and list one thing you will do differently to feed the wolf, to feed the right wolf going forward. Okay, great. So our final requirement then that we're sharing with you today is The challenge with living that way and working that way on a daily basis is it doesn't allow us to take a step back and really reflect on how we are showing up on a daily basis. Leaders who excel focus on their own behaviors and focus on how they show up on a daily basis and ensure that they are demonstrating the right behaviors and creating the right environment that will fuel success, that will motivate and engage others, that will also ensure that you as a leader have a positive and productive experience. And so unless we take the time to lead ourselves first and to ensure that we are doing, what we need to do to achieve success for our organization and thereby success for our team, unless we take the time to reflect on what we need to do, chances are we won't be able to lead others effectively. So you need to lead yourself before you can lead others. And by leading yourself, I mean a few things, okay? Leaders that excel take time to reflect on their leadership behaviors and practices, and they reflect on their strengths and identify those behaviors and practices that they bring to the table that promote a healthy environment, a positive workplace, that promote productivity and teamwork. And they also reflect on the areas that need some work. And they're conscious of the behaviors and practices that they demonstrate. And by being conscious, I mean they ask themselves regularly, what did I do today that fed the wolf of success, and what did I do today that fed the wolf of failure or mediocrity? And what do I need to do tomorrow to feed the wolf of success? And in order to lead yourself first, you again need to define what success looks like for you. So at the beginning of this session, we talked about success from an organizational perspective or from a team perspective. Okay, so that is one aspect of being fanatically focused on success. Those are two types of goals, right? Your organization's goals and your team's goals. But exceptional leaders also have goals for themselves as leaders. The type of leader, what type of leader do I want to be? That's a goal, right? What type of difference do I want to make in my team's day or my team members' lives here at work? That's also a goal, right? So focusing on and identifying the type of leader you want to be and the difference you want to make with those you lead. And so lead time on EI, emotional intelligence. But I want to be able to lead you with some tools so that you can lead with more intention and respond more often than react more. So responding versus reacting. In order to respond, in order to and work with, if you've never taken time to be mindful and set time aside to reflect on your leadership and the type of leader you want to be, I really encourage you to carve out even 5 minutes, before you leave for work, if your house isn't crazy chaos like mine, or as soon as you get into the office, if you have a quiet space, or in the car or on the subway, pop in some earplugs. Wherever you can find 5 minutes of quiet to focus on these questions, I urge you to do that. Or before you go to bed as well is really helpful. So set your intentions by asking yourself some questions, okay? Sorry, that should say, what kind of leader will I be today? Or you can ask, I ask myself in the mornings, who will I be today? What kind of person do I want to be today? What kind of leader will you be today? Right? And so the kind of leader that you will be today will be dependent on the experience that you want to have, or the support that you want to provide your team. Maybe your team is going through a big restructure and there's a lot of stress within the organization. Maybe you need to be a compassionate leader, a patient leader today in order to support people through that stress. Okay, so reflect on the type of leader you want to be today. The type of leader you will be tomorrow may be different. It all still will fall within the general values you want to live, but what you need to bring forth to support yourself and to support others may differ on a daily basis depending on what you are going to be facing. What type of experience will I create today for myself and for my team? Do I want a joyful experience, a productive experience, a supportive experience? What type of experience are you going to actively create? And when you ask yourself these questions, you're going to be focused, more focused on actually creating them in your day. What goals will I achieve today? What wolf did I feed yesterday, and what will I do today to feed the wolf of success? So leading yourself first is about first reflecting on who you want to be, how you're going to show up, what are the behaviors and practices that you intentionally need to demonstrate, and then committing to demonstrating them. So reflection and action. You know, we all work in and live in incredibly busy, overwhelming, stress-ridden times at work these days, it seems, right, with the amount of change we're being faced with. And so taking the time to actually reflect is literally a gift that you're giving to yourself, even if it's 5 minutes to center yourself and focus on who you want to be today and what you want to create today as a leader, okay? Because remember that the cultures in which we work don't just happen all of a sudden. Each and every one of us are actively creating the cultures that we work in. We create them with the little things we do every day. And unless we are intentionally feeding the wolf of success and intentionally taking steps to elevate our leadership, then we will not be creating cultures of success. We'll be creating cultures of mediocrity. So I'd like you to identify at least one thing you will do to lead yourself first. Okay. So as a recap, in order to lead your teams to higher levels of performance, in order to lead yourself to higher levels of performance, you need to first lock on to success. Okay, be fanatically focused on success. Have a clear vision of what success looks like for your organization, for your team, and for yourself as a leader. Okay? The next requirement is to feed the right wolf. Ensure your team members know the behaviors and practices essential to feeding the right wolf, okay, and starving the wolf of failure. And I'm not as concerned about the wolf of failure. I should say starving the wolf of mediocrity, okay, because like we said, when we fail, as long as we take steps to learn from it, we're feeding the wolf of success. And then exceptional leaders lead themselves first by intentionally choosing the behaviors and practices that lead them to success. and taking the time to reflect on how we need to be on a daily basis. Okay? So I thank you so much for your time. I will be following up with each of you and sending you a tool, access to a website where you will have a leadership checklist that will give you a checklist of all of the little things you can do on a daily basis to elevate your leadership, to strengthen your team's effectiveness, and to feed the right wolf. So this is a checklist that you can put in your office or just reflect on once a week and ask yourself, have I done this? What can I do to do this next week? So I will be sharing your leadership checklist with you after this session. Okay? So I thank you very much for joining me today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at my email address below. Okay? Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. All the best.